Hey, so a few months ago, I started seeing this one pedal pop up more and more, and kind of like an ad that follows you around. I saw it everywhere. I saw it on Instagram, saw it on Facebook, looked into it, saw that Pino Palladino was listed as one of the bass players that uses it, saw it on a few of the pedal boards of the Bethel bass players, and turns out this pedal has one of the coolest, weirdest stories behind it. So in this video, we're just gonna unbox it, plug it in, see if it actually lives up to some of the hype, at least the hype that I read about online.
Andre, welcome to the Solodallas family. We are honored to have you. Thank you for giving us a test run. Team Solodallas.
Let me start by saying this. This is not like a traditional drive or distortion pedal like the Kilt or B3K Micro 2s, which are very common in worship bass. It's a clean boost with some secret sauce that adds like some saturation, some compression, some harmonics. To really understand some of this like mystery secret sauce behind it, we need to go back to like way back to the 70s. Believe it or not, this particular pedal was inspired by a piece of gear that kind of changed music at the time, but it's also not like something you would expect. So it started with a guy named Ken Schaffer, who was a radio engineer, and he wasn't trying to design a pedal. He was solving like a problem for some of the biggest like bands at the time: AC/DC, Pink Floyd, Rolling Stones, Van Halen. And the guitarists in those bands were really struggling with these wireless systems. So wireless systems were around, but they were unreliable, sounded thin, they were prone to like interference, they would cut out, players would be jamming a solo and step in a certain area of the stage, and then it would just be dead silence. So Schaffer created the first reliable wireless system that solved kind of all those problems and solved the tone problem. So, and this is where things get really cool, is that a lot of the guitarists loved what this thing did to their live tone so much that they were like, can we try this in the studio? So that piece of gear started going into the studio and making it onto the recordings. What does all that have to do with this? So fast forward a few decades, there was a guy named Filippo Solodallas Oliveri, massive AC/DC fan, and he was just obsessed with figuring out what was it about these classic records from the 70s. There was just a sound or something that was in those that wasn't in these other ones. And so he started interviewing, analyzing videos, just analyzing the tone, like really hyper focusing on this specific thing, and eventually discovered that like all these bands were using this Schaffer Vega wireless system. By the time he discovered that, a lot of the original units were way out of production, so he had to basically recreate it from scratch. And I think the big question now is like, does it, what does it do on bass? And does it live up to the hype? Does it do what it did to those like legendary guitar tones? And so we're gonna plug it in, find out. I'm just going through my regular signal chain, going from the bass to a buffer to a tuner, Cali 76 compressor, then into the Replica here, and then into the tone hammer. The tone hammer, I do have just my regular settings, the AJS is on, and it's got a little bit of dirt. So before I jump into the demo, I did reach out to Solodallas, and they were kind enough to hook me up with this pedal for a review. Shout out to Donnie and Josh. They're not paying me. They didn't give me any instructions, any scripts. That letter you saw is exactly what they said. Thanks for giving us a test run. And one last thing they did tell me is that all of their pedals are on sale for the month of April. I know we're getting close to the end of the month here, but if you like this pedal, if you want to check out some of the other pedals, you could probably get yourself a really good deal if you get there in the next few days. On the Replica, there's 3 knobs. I just set them to kind of 12 o'clock. That's kind of my go-to starting position. And let's kick it on. So right off the bat, those low notes sound really good. A lot of time drive pedals to me, even the bass versions, they just don't have that clarity in the low strings. Like, it'll sound great on the E string or on the A string, but then when you get to that like 5th fret, A, G, F, even E, it just doesn't sound good. In this case, it's like everything's 12 o'clock, and it sounds like it's adding something to this tone. let's play around with some of these knobs, see what they do. So the limiter is put, it was installed on these units to limit the signal going over a certain threshold. If we play around with it right now, let me just go like 9 o'clock. So that just opens it up. That's like completely off. And then if I go, you know, maybe 100% on, so it tames it. It still adds, right? Like if I have it off. Yeah, I would probably, you know, just run it kind of right in the middle there somewhere. And let's play around with the gain a little bit, see what that does. Really nice. It's very, very like transparent, which yes, is you kind of want in a boost, but also it's doing something that the tone hammer doesn't do. If I was to say turn up the tone hammer and add gain to it, it doesn't sound the same as if I'm adding gain on here. So this pedal definitely is doing something, you know, some of that magic sauce or saturation, compression. It is making like your sound more defined and punchy. Especially, man, I'm really impressed with how it sounds on these low strings. Max it out. So very, very, very nice. Very pleasant on the ears. Kick up the limiter a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I do like the gain a little bit higher, and then the compression, you know, maybe limiting somewhere here. All right, for the final verdict, I can say I connected with the pedal right away, and there's not a lot of pedals that happens with. Some of them you plug in and then you have to kind of dial in a tone that's great. Like, but you saw with this, I just had everything at 12, you know, kicked it on and it sounded really good. There's a couple pedals that have had that happen with before, like the Cali 76 is one of them, where I just plugged it in and I was like, oh, no brainer. That sounds amazing. And you don't have to, like, there's no setting, there's no bad setting technically. I almost want to get a second one that I can have that maybe is always on. So, you know, trying like kind of what a lot of the guitarists that I talked about did, where they just had this, it was always on. Very cool overall pedal. And I want to know what you think. What did you think? How did it sound to your ears? Did you like what it did to the tone? Let me know what you think. I'm sold. If you would like to support the channel, if you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. And then there's some links in the description where you can support the channel if you like. I do post every single week. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in another video.